I do believe we're live. So, I'll say, indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. What a dear pleasure it is to have you here again on another beautiful day with the opportunity to consciously evolve again, specifically today, considering the fear of falling short. I sure know that it's something that I worry about, especially these days. And especially so since I have these technological metrics to measure myself against, right? I have access to this whole piece of software called YouTube Studio that tells me the exact amount of subscribers I gained in a certain amount of time, tells me how many hours people have watched, tells me how it's performing comparatively to how it's been before, giving me an estimate of how well I'm performing, at least as it is received by other people, watched by others. And it's hard to just ignore all of those things. But at the same time, it seems very trivial to me. Because again, if I had to try and optimize for better viewership, I would change something fundamental about this space. And I do think, again, things will fundamentally change. And I will try. It's too hot for you to sit up against me, bro. It's too hot. I don't want you to sit that close. You can sit there. That's good. But that close is going to be too close for me. Optimizing. Again, I do believe in optimizing, making things better slowly but surely. But what better looks like has become very definable to me. That I want to, with these streams and with the content that I create for you, friends, I want to create a sense of calm in you when you find yourself in this space with me. At least as much as I can manage to stay calm myself. That's usually the real challenge. How can I take whatever experience I'm having and present it in such a calm way that no matter what the circumstances is, it can still feel very easy to solve the problem of, right? I do tend to be very uh, problem solving focused sometimes. And it is because it seems to, at least in some ways, serve my experience. In other ways, it also tends to create new problems, imagined ones in my own mind about what conditions need to be met in order for me to solve the problem as I see the solution to be fit. And I feel that's where I am trying to find more balance, right? That if the ultimate problem I'm trying to solve for is trying to be at peace, then no amount of money, no amount of stuff will technically change that for me. It could augment, but it is still going to be up to me what I think is enough. Enough for me to be at peace with my experience. I had a whole thought about that earlier, about how I don't have anything to be embarrassed about, kind of thing. Right? If I died right now, or if I died continuing to be right now as I've been 50 years from now, I would still feel like I have lived the life that I was supposed to live to every second that I I had. And again, I'm trusting that that is going to bring me peace at the end of the day. You know what I mean, Sam? What do you think, Hoopty Hoops? One thing at a time is a saying that I just said. That moment you say things and it becomes saying, instantly becomes a part of the past, even if you're talking about the present. I'm gonna stop letting this dude go on essentially a hand treadmill. Say bye to the little thousand-legged duder. Don't fall now. Let's see, little critter. Hey, Joe is here with us. I'll put it away now. I know Joe gets the heebie-jeebies a little bit with these dudes in particular. I'm trying to put him on a stick. Hey, hey, okay. He didn't fall far. He fell like that far. He's just curled up a little bit. I think satisfaction with a life well lived or disappointment with all the things one wished they could do is a failure of perspective itself. We don't know all the things we could have done but didn't. Yeah, no, that is true. I feel like there's also an added layer to agree with you, right? That if you had the perspective, the ultimate perspective, you would realize that there were many circumstances in which your life had just abruptly come to an end, potentially, even, right? Before you knew anything, maybe you were off by a little bit. Maybe you were beating yourself up for being late. And then if you were on time, you would have gotten sideswiped by a vehicle, killed on impact or something. I'm sorry for being grim. But the point I'm trying to make is that we don't know. We don't know. What we do know is that you are alive right now, right? That part is sure. And if that is the one thing that we can be sure of, what will you do with that information? What is it going to mean to you to be alive going forward into this new year that we find ourselves within right now? What does being alive look like to you? I feel every single one of us will have a different answer to that question. But I feel most of us would agree that it doesn't necessarily always look like how we're spending most of our time. I'm projecting at myself a little bit as well. I find extreme life satisfaction. I feel like it's life well lived when I appreciate beautiful clouds. Like yesterday, for example, there was a thunderstorm esque experience happening on that mountainside. And I just watched it for like 45 minutes, just watching thunderous clouds striking lightning and creating all of that texture in them. And I felt this sense of essentially loss, that I've spent so much time watching screens in my life as well that I've probably missed a bunch of lightning shows like that. And then on the other side, there is the acknowledgement that a lightning show is like a one trick pony. Sounds judgmental to say it that way, but it's bright and flashy, and the clouds add like a dynamicism, I guess. But it's familiar, right? Maybe somebody is in the middle of playing a game they're really engaged with, or in the middle of watching a movie. They might not want to come outside and look at the thunder with you, right? Because that is the thing that they find satisfying. And in that way, right, at least that's the way I'm trying to understand for myself. is that I gain the most value from just being present with whatever it is I'm doing. Right? As soon as I lose that presence, as soon as I zone out so completely that I'm no longer present for the experience, that's where I know I'm supposed to adjust, reconsider, evaluate my options, choose, choose accordingly. I think I've missed a few comments up top. Those things, continues Sam, could have been infinitely worse or better, and we'll never know. So judging what is feels like a delusion of grandeur. I think I was continuing on your point after reading your first message, and you said it better afterwards. What you're doing, I'm showing up for you in this moment. I'm here if you want to have a conversation. I'm here if you want to ask a question. I'm here if you just want to take a moment to be calm. I'm not always the most calm person, but I'm trying to create a space of calm for you in this moment. The internet can be a chaotic place. It's nice to have you here with me. There, at your fingertips, lies the mystery. Look, and you may find. Whoa! The mystery is right there. Oh, you have 2 likes. Nice. That's a bunch. 2 people out in the world liked me enough to do something about it. Goodness. Can you imagine? Yeah. Nice badge on my shoulder. Pat on the backs for myself. Thank you very much, myself. And you for liking, of course. I lived a life, and placing qualifiers like good or bad upon it is the thing that starts us down the path of suffering again. Yeah, it's true what you're saying, Sam. Maybe there's some sort of allegory of the cave going on there. All right. Like what a good life is has become these projections, illusions that we can quantify, even though we're completely wrong about why it is we find any satisfaction in it. Sam, would you choose to be reborn? No, Sam doesn't want to be reborn. A re-roll, a mulligan, a do-over. I'm not going through puberty twice. Yeah. If I could keep all my memories, I probably would do a re-roll. If I could choose where I'm born, maybe as well. If I could choose the parameters of my form. But just random re-roll, that sounds really sketch. Dreamers dream of no time, no reality, an opportunity to delude. It's true. Darren is here too. It's nice having you. Good morning, friend. Show blessing our friends too. Sleep is that zone out complete. I do agree. I spent a little bit of extra time this morning zoning out, to say it in those words, sleeping as well, where I could have awoken when I woke up myself. But I did go back and dream surfed a little bit more. Allowed myself to experience whatever it is my subconscious had to share. There is a certain satisfaction in that zoned out experience. Peaceful awakening allows us to suck the marrow of life. That moment when you suck the marrow of life. I'm fasting right now, bro. Even though sucking the marrow of life sounds very gruesome, it's still stimulating some sort of pathway of food. I think I'll be fasting for a while. I'm 2 days in. Today is day 2. but I can feel that I'm carrying a lot more than 2 days worth of fasting. Kobe, losikatoit. And not when we have come to die. Discover that we have not lived. That's a deep one. Darren saying, just make sure you're running fast enough to clear the gap. Helpful. Yeah, helpful, definitely. Hmm. This definitely did send me into quite the contemplative mood. It's making me think about, again, today's stream topic is the fear of the way it's registering for me right now is the fear of not being interesting. There we go. The way I titled it is the fear of falling short. Right. And to almost like echo this conversation we've had about a life well lived, I think that's one of the factors with which we judge ourselves, right? Depending on whether or not we achieved certain goals, we feel we have not fallen short. And if we had fallen short and had perished, that would be a great shame. And the fact that we can fear that experience, in my mind at the very least, only adds to the possibility of it being so. The whole concept of uh, almost like manifestation, I guess, self fulfilled prophecy, right? I do believe that we human beings are powerful enough to, with our intentions and our thoughts, shape the outcome of situations. There are some takes so convinced that they talk about like manifesting you winning lottery tickets and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'm sold that much on it. But I do believe that there is a layer of power and control that we have access to, but we don't necessarily know how to drive the ship, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to almost like make it these like tenets. Yesterday we circled around respect a little bit. Today I'm thinking about the imposter syndrome, not allowing ourselves to be convinced that we are unworthy, and especially thinking about it from the perspective of you have a responsibility to yourself to believe that you are worthy, right? Because only with your belief that you're not could you not be worthy, right? Only in your belief of you not being worthy can you act in ways that would make you unworthy. And again, therein comes the responsibility. I feel like it's a word that has definitely been obscured. When you think about responsibility, you might think about your own problems or challenges. But responsibility is a thing that we can have as a society to our individuals as well. And it does seem like there is a little bit of a mismatch between where we are individually. If you had to like ask a census question, and where we are collectively, if you have to look at our trajectory. And the more I pay attention to the good things that are happening, the more I realize that there is, in fact, a whole force, a whole group of good people that are, in fact, trying to make the world a better place in their own way. Understanding our interconnectedness, allowing us to take responsibility over the small things. Mm-hmm. I think I'm missing some. There we go. And because it's obvious by now you haven't seen the movie Melt, you're watching Dead Poet Society when you get here. Yeah, I have actually seen that. Robin Williams, bunch of kids that find an old like book reading slash poetry reading club that they revitalize. Was very emotional, but uh, I think my tisms makes me take things literally. I read things as they are instead of as they could be sometimes. So yeah. But I could watch it again. It's one of those that I feel is worth a rewatch as well, especially so with people that you love. I like practicing not talking. I recommend silence. Yeah, even me. I spend, how long are these streams? I've been here for half an hour, 22 minutes technically. And then my yoga class is about 15 minutes of talking. And it's on and off talking because I'm giving cues and there's a lot of empty space as well, at least. Sometimes I'll do long streams. And then maybe at most, I estimate there is 1 hour of conversation at most. I would be surprised if it's that much with my family, and not due to lack of trying, just to, you know, like I listen instead. I'll ask questions, and that doesn't take too many words. And then the other 22 hours, 21 hours, silence. Yes. I appreciate my own silence as well. It's in part one of the reasons that I look forward to having an EUC as well. Right? One of the things that I used to do way back, like almost decade plus ago, was when I had one in China as well, uh, would ride a motorcycle. I would just appreciate myself in the space and the lack of expectations other than to make sure I don't crash my vehicle kind of thing. And it gives you an engaged feeling with reality that is quieting. And the cool part is you can do that with people, right? You can have comms, but there is a lot of just appreciating movement, right? And human beings are so adept at so many different forms of movement. Think about all of the different types of water sports, from kayaks to canoes to rafts to tubes to wakeboards, skate. Oh, I was gonna say skateboards, but like surfing planks. Like there's so many fractals now these days. Like those aerofoil wakeboards as well. So cool. Some of them are like engine powered. Of course, the boats, the catamarans, and right. And like every single one of those vehicles will have a different ride feel and a different experience that it gives the person that pilots that vehicle. And I want to get good at understanding that world as well. Right? I want to be able to find those fractals. I think the next one, right? I think the EUC is going to be pretty much it for me when it comes to my personal mobility device. The next thing would probably be one of those EV dolls, right? Essentially, a drone you can sit in. I'm so sold. I would 100% want to do that. However, it's going to be a little bit higher price. Yeah. But in time, give it 10 years, right? 10 years is more than enough time. You seem like a very chill guy. That's nice. Kaz Games. It's so beautiful to me that you say that, and I really appreciate it. Because today's stream, one of the big things that I came here with is bringing a sense of chill. The word I used in my mind was calm, but bringing a sense of calm into the lives of other people. I do try to do that with all of these streams, but today, especially considering the conversation today that we're discussing is the fear of falling short, right? And if I'm going to create an experience for people, I want that experience to be calming on their central nervous system. I want them to walk away from the space feeling okay, right? A sense that they're enough, a sense that they're loved, a sense that there is other people in the world going through their own state of reality, unique set of problems that no matter where you find yourself in the spectrum of country, ethnicity, language, body type, uh, aesthetics, appearance, right? There are these unique challenges that exist for every single person. And I'm just one. And I have dedicated this space to showing up with you friends for this experience, to show that if you show up for love, it is a force that will carry you forward forever. Right? Something that's powerful. Something powerful that you have access to. Right? There's nothing that I am doing that you don't have access to. Right? I have really bad internet right now. You're like, oh, Mel, surely it can't be that bad. I'm going to stop it before the upload starts, but the upload is the same speed because it might tank my stream. Yes, 5 megabits per second. All right. So like this stream is like barely holding on. Yeah, barely. The phone I have been streaming on was $150. Yeah, the one I had broke, and the screen replacement was twice the price that that one was. You don't technically need the microphones, and I feel like that this fractal of like almost influence, right? The way that we have seen it used is usually in the sale of products because that's what we've been incentivized to do. That's what's valuable to a corporation right now. But the influence that I want to have, if anything, is again just like a sense of calm. especially when there's so much to not be calm about. Can I create a space that is provably going to calm down people's inner experience, right? To a state of hope again. I will continue to get good. I'll research. I'll experiment. I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of plans. And I do think with the changes that are coming, some of these plans will be easier to execute, especially because I'll have more reliable bandwidth and probably a computer to work with as well. I do have one right now, but it will run into the same limitations that this device does. Bandwidth. Yes. The fact that this thing is live at all right now is it's kind of spectacular. A little bit of a mini miracle. uh, the internet. I really have had a interesting relationship with myself through it. It's one of the most revealing things, right? You can see all parts of yourself. And I feel like that's something that's happening in these spaces as well. Whereas we show up day after day, there are parts of me being seen that I don't even know about and that I'll most likely forget about. All right? A week, a year, 5 years from now. However, this creation will continue to survive. It will exist on a plane of existence that doesn't suffer the same illusions that consciousness sometimes does. All right. Oh wait, no, but let me see what I'm missing. Are you South African? Yeah. I don't know if you're still here, but yes, I am. He is human from Earth. Uh, he is America. No, technically not. I am going America. It's true. Bouncing along, bouncing like Tigger along the path of choosing. Yeah, he is chill until you piss him off. Yeah, yeah. Like any Taurus. I am I am a Taurus. Right? I do see that bull energy. Bulls can be really chill if they're just minding their own business, eating some grass. And then if you're messing with that bull and it like charges you, uses its pointy ends to put holes in you. All right, that could be seen as like what's the word? Excessive. However, sometimes that's in the nature. It's in the nature of the bull. And I try to stay calm for both of our sakes, right? And like I've been challenged. hmm I'll let you know I've been challenged. Sometimes I'm not as graceful. Most times I'm not graceful, but sometimes I am, and I try to learn from those sometimes. And maybe those sometimes will become most of the time, and then eventually all of the time, right? Little by little. Mate, you just got another subscriber, getting you to 1 million. Boom. Cas Games. Sick. I look forward to seeing you on that million mark. That is going to be a big fractal. 10 years. By the time I'm 37, that sounds fine. Very ambitious. It's what? One, two, three orders of magnitude of growth in 10 years. Why not? Why not? Maybe we figure something out that really sticks the landing. Again, I do have ideas in mind. And I'm in this position where the longer I wait, the cheaper the gear that I need will be. If not the new stuff, because of our current RAM shortage, at least the old stuff, right? And it will still do the job. Then it's just going to be a matter of setup and pipelining. And then again, the age old and true consistency. That is the hardest part. I do value it, but I feel I need to get a system in place that helps take a lot of the weight off of my back. And waiting for technology to improve also aids that. Our tools are growing more sophisticated. My youngest cat is obsessed with the little treats. He mouths over and over like he's never going to eat again. Yeah, sounds like you're getting trained by your cat, Darren. I'm gonna go meow, 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 and then you're gonna give me one of those things in that box. And then you do that, and then it goes, how about that? I go meow, meow. This human being moves. And I said, meow. I said, meow, 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 meow. Looking for a calm person on the other side of insanity. Yeah, that sounds like could be many people's experience. Darren, the first rule about cats is that they're manipulative and you can't give in. There we go. Me and Sam on the same page. But yeah, you are getting trained. You're getting pretty bow trained. What corporation technically needs your influence? YouTube is proving it is. I'm trying to make it very clear that no corporation needs my presence. Right. I think what I'm making clear is that this is an experience that I feel is going to be hard to corporatize. I will, of course, provide the option to buy items, right? Make things that people would want, ideally, right? Designs or pretty things for their walls. And I feel like that's kind of the direction that I'm heading in as well, in a matter of something that I can stand by. However, other than that, the only reason you would want something like that is if this space give you such a sense of calm and presence that you would want something like that in your life because it reminds you of that state of being. Hmm. There you go, sweetie, sweetie. Little sweetie dogger. Yeah, yeah, you could just be a sweetie. He knows he's not allowed on the cushion with me, but he'll shimmy himself as close as he can get. Mm-mm-mm-mm. What's going on? Whatever you have going on is what's going on, bro. If you had to ask what's going on to all 8 billion people, you would be overwhelmed by the informational blast being projected at you. For me, right now in this moment, I'm sharing a conversation about the fear of falling short. Sharing the fact that it was inspired in part by my want to create a calm space for you, friends. That if you find yourself here with me, you'll leave going into your day not feeling disturbed. Maybe intrigued, maybe something will leave you thinking. But I don't want you to walk away wishing you didn't have eyes and ears. Sometimes there's internet experiences that makes you wish you could unsee things, you know. And I want to not have that happen here, ideally. Little by little. And I again, right, as I'm saying these things, my mind is scheming, making plans. One of these days I'll add even more pretty stuff. Right? I think I'm going to have a lot of creative juice that needs to be squeezed. He's just too cute, can't resist. No, definitely not Dream Tooth. It's interesting that you took that assumption. I can see where you're coming from. I think the point I'm trying to make more so is that what it is I'm here for is to create a sense of calm, right? And the fact that I mentioned the fact that I would be willing to provide you with something is the corporate side of it, right? So the conversation we were having leading up to that moment was that I'm not showing up as a corporation or for a corporation, at least not at this point in my life. And I probably will work for a corporation next year, right? One or the other, right? Maybe one that's unknown for the most part, but still. And in that way, this space has been something that isn't that. And I feel will remain something that isn't that. And if it's going to be something like that, what is this for? And then to me, the answer was calm, right? Yes, it can still, have my art. That's that's what I'm talking about, right? Sweet, calm people, I'll have you know, at festivals have bought my art because they like it. They are like, what's that? And I'm like, stickers. And they're like, can I buy them? It's like, oh, yes, you can. Yeah, you can, in fact, buy them from me. And then I have money to spend on the people that I love, even if sometimes the people is me, right? It would be nice for me to be able to make a living just making art and giving yoga classes, right? But the only way for me to make art and give yoga classes with any financial viability is to have people that want yoga classes and people that like art. And I feel calm people, whether you believe it or not, usually gravitate towards experiences of presence and beauty. And it's been something that I've tried to strive for in this space over and over. but I feel making it an even more central intention as I go into this year feels like something that I value, right? And as such, I want to share it. In order to participate in a world sufficiently enough to feed oneself, anybody who is awake enough to acknowledge the wrongness of capitalism will become a hypocrite simply to sustain themselves. Yeah. Unless you're growing all of your own food and harvesting your water from rivers or the rain and boiling it yourself so it doesn't have any contaminants and etc etc, making your own clothes from fibers that you harvested from unplanted naturally occurring plants, right? Like there's going to be some element of the modern world, capitalism, globalization in some way, right? And you, again, as Sam said, you can pretend not to acknowledge, pretend to be above these systems that actively keep you alive, support the existence that you have found yourself very comfortable within, the very same existence that en- enables you to have opinions, right? There is only so much you can do. And again, I have given it a really good shot. Can't fault me on that. Hoopty hoops. 5 years of trying to make a living and doing this, right? I feel is a good stretch of time. Good stretch of time. Good stretch of time to know if it's possible. And it has ebbed and flowed, but I think right now I'm making the least amount of money I've made in like 4 years, right? So, in that way, it is not possible for me to sustain myself indefinitely if this was the only way that I had to generate an income. So, I look forward in that way to go and find my self employment. There is this quote that I enjoy as it relates to work that goes, work is how you change the world, right? That you can change the world in many ways, but in most of the ways, it's going to take work. It's going to take some work for you to change the world. And I want to do that. I am gravitating a lot towards the technology side. If not the actual output of the electronics, I'll do the input, right? Installations as well. I do have some background in that stuff, but I'm going to have to become a student again. Learn from this infinitely giving universe. Get good, if you will. Mm-mm-mm. And the people and you saying you're not nice, which isn't nice. Unless you're willing to live like John the Baptist, eat locusts, and I like how me and Sam are in sync on these fractals. Eat wild locusts and wild honey. You are going to make an impact by living in this world. You will leave echoes of yourself everywhere. Yeah, it's true. And I think the side of the machine that benefits from green initiative wants to crack up your moral suffering to make you think there's a dollar amount you can spend to alleviate your inner guilt. If you just get reusable bags, if you just go solar, if you just and it's never ending. Always pushing responsibility for the current environment on the individual consumer instead of the companies mass producing waste, dodging the EPA, and lobbying Congress to have permissions to be the biggest pieces of shit alive. No one person's action can remove that guilt. Don't accept it in the first place. It's true what Sam says. There is only so much you can do, right? And the systems that are in place right now are in place because they have the largest profit margins, right? Unfortunately, there is a give and take between our economy and our environment, right? Everything that we have right now has been extracted from our environment, mined or harvested, right, from the earth. And if we maximize our economic output, we will do that to the detriment of our environment. And we will have to figure out some sort of balance. And I think that's where we find ourselves in hot water because nobody is gonna wanna earn less money, right? Nobody is gonna be like, actually, I'll consider earning less money from now on, actually. I don't think anybody wants to do that, right? And again, especially in a world where we have a cost of living crisis, where everything seems to be continuously getting more expensive, we'll have to find ourselves a system that is deflationary, right? Eventually. Eventually, we'll have to, because it's rough. It's pretty rough seeing the value that you have hoarded, saved up a little bit, lose 5, 10, 50% of its value over some period of time. Like it's disheartening. It encourages this franticness about contracting into a ball of tension. Bitcoin fixes this. That's Ekdal. That's what I was hinting at as well. Exactly. Yeah, you can't print more. 21 million is the cap. It's tumultuous. It is, right. Volatility is not for everyone. But if you can spare $50 a month, right? $50 that you'd be spending on cigarettes, spending on vapes, spending on alcohol, right? And you want to quit. You're like, I shouldn't be spending this $50 on this stuff. Just at the start of the month, put it in Bitcoin or Cardano. You know, do your own research, find something that looks appealing to you. It's infrastructure. At least that's the way I see Cardano. That's infrastructure. It's going to become very valuable infrastructure eventually. And Bitcoin is a almost first mover, decentralized supercomputer that builds your security actively. There being multiple copies of the same chain all over the world, some of them hidden in bunkers. No one person can co-op the entire network. You will have to make so much computer or have so much energy that it would not be economically feasible. So many layers, so many layers, and they are still trying to control it as everything else as well, right? And I feel that's the part that seems to be disheartening, is that we find ourselves stuck in very short time frames. The immediacy, the instant gratification of this reality we find ourselves in has a way of weighting our decision making. Some ways it helps, most ways it doesn't. Hey to you, Jackie, from the Marva. Melt, Sam is lying to you. I don't think Sam was saying anything to me directly. I was just reading. Repeat after me. The jackass thing that other people do are not my business. Yeah, it's true. Whoop. Love you like my blood, so I'm fine with you that you're about to get a boot in the butt. What about yourself? If you're enlightened and upright enough to self govern, you can manage your individual footprint. That's true. you should be so enlightened and self-governed that you shouldn't even leave any footprints. You should be floating monk style with your hands like this and your legs folded. Yes. Unless you do that, don't start telling me anything. All right. Okay. I'll have you know. What is enraging to me are the green companies spending on advertising that ends up littering all to the US. That were the problem. Sure, we could have anti littering initiatives. They could also take some responsibility for strip mining, for oil fracking, and for lobbying for the entire sale of Louisiana as a cancer rates. Let me see this as well. Let me check something quickly. Hey Google, how much in profit did KFC make last year? Disposable diapers could not exist on a gold standard. I don't know what that means, Ekdal. That's such an interesting thing to say. I think it could. I think it could because you can make a lot more disposable diapers than you can make gold. So if you're on a gold standard, your gold will be able to progressively buy more and more disposable diapers. Anyway, you can float melt. You can do it. Thank you, Kiefer. Thank you. Good luck. KFC has been struggling here in America. They're doing much better in Asian markets. Yeah, let me see. So in 2024, I wanted 2025 information, but I'll read. The KFC division of Yum, a brand, reported an operating profit of 1.16 billion US dollars operating profit, which is a 5% increase from the previous year. For 2025 figures, they already got in the first quarter $386 million, and then quarter two, 292, and quarter three, they say they saw another 16% year over year increase. So 1.4 billion, 1 point, yeah, right? And then there is this gall where, at least in South Africa, I don't know if it's that way in your country as well, but they have this gall to every single time you buy a meal to almost like ask you, how many kids do you want to feed? Right? Kind of thing. And I usually give something, but at the same time, this is a company that has an operating profit. That's profit. That's money in the pockets of 1.16 billion US dollars. And then they're like, "Hey consumer, hey person buying themselves KFC right now. You think you enjoying your KFC? That's nice. You like it? Kids starving and stuff. You like them starving? How about you give some cash for them to not starve and stuff?" And it's like, wait a second, which one of us have billion plus US dollars of profit in the bank a year, every year? And it's like, no, no, no. Let's not talk about all of my billions of dollars of profit. No, we're gonna talk about, you know, feeding hungry kids. Like, hey, you're literally a food company. You actually have the logistics to make sure every single person is fed. Why not? Why not take a 25% cut on your profits and then actually feed people, right? Better yet, better yet, feed them your food so they grow accustomed to it. All right. This is me trying to appeal to the corporate execs. Feed them your food so they grow accustomed to it, so that when they do, due to the ability to save money or whatever, start businesses of their own, go and study and have higher income potential, et cetera, they when they can afford their own food, they'll buy yours. But no, no billion dollars in my pockets every year sounds better. than doing the thing I'm guilt tripping you for not doing. That shit drives me insane as well, Sam. It's like, yo, how dare you, actually? Like, how can you have a straight face? Let me see. What did I miss? I love prof. Biryan Dara, Prophet me. Clears throat. I'm not hosing shit off a diaper liner. You're not buying disposables. Yeah, I have a life and my peace is not worth that. My mom felt the same, dear Sam, and she had 4 children, right? There was at no point where the idea of reusable diapers sounded appealing to her, not even a little bit. Because we have church's chicken and them honey biscuits don't leave you dry as a bone when you eat them. Sounds good. I've never had those. No food talk. I'm on second day into my fast. I don't think it's the system's fault, but rather the consumer striving for lazy and the system exploiting that. The consumer is buying into it. That's the thing, all right? We're voting with our money, so we're getting what we're voting for, kind of thing. I'm not sure how this is supposed to work. Isn't he able to eat well? I think if you live in America, right, and you're willing to dumpster dive, everybody can eat well. Oh, absolutely. We have to shoulder our share of the blame for allowing all of this. But there must be balance and boundaries. A lot of self flagellation from the granola people is because they let it. Yeah. Why don't you go work for a cigarette company? Damn. Madman Melt. Did I say that? That does sound wild. Sometimes you have to work for a cigarette company. My brother, for example, has been helping farmers. And some of these farmers are tobacco farmers. And some of the systems they install to ensure that the tobacco gets dried these days with sunlight and batteries because the coal they used to use was too inefficient and polluting. All right? So, in that way, literally, by extension, working for a cigarette company. However, being paid a living wage to do so. And again, the consumer is buying into it. I think the consumer is buying into it less. Thank goodness. I think they're losing smokers slowly but surely. I think the vapes definitely did bring it back a little bit. They're lucky for that because people are telling themselves that it's better for them. I was one of those people. It makes me nauseous. And I don't know if anything that makes me nauseous is good for me. If you feed them your fast food, you're just going to feed what becomes an addiction. It's true. It's true. Again, I'm not saying that it's good. I wasn't saying that it's good for them to do that. I was just saying it would be better. It would be better. All right. Instead of like knowing about people starving and then choosing to let them, right? Like again, their KFC, they have franchises, I think almost in every country. Let me see. Hey Google, how many franchises and in how many countries does KFC operate? I think that's enough information. Here we go. So, 32,000 restaurants across 150 countries and territories. That means 90% of all locations are operated by independent franchises rather than the parent company. Uh, do all of these companies get food shipped to them? Yes. Okay, so there you go. They have the regional sourcing, the cold chain logistics, the distribution centers, and they know the secret ingredients, right? So they literally have everything that is needed in order to actually feed the world, right? Actually to do it. And I think that's where the crux comes in. If all of these companies, again, it doesn't just have to be KFC. Maybe a company like KFC really takes the initiative to say to their customers, hey, 25% of the profit from the meal you just paid for is going towards feeding kids. Instead of being like, hey, you just paid for your whole meal and we're making $1 billion profit a year off of that meal you just bought. Don't you want to spend some more of your money? Oh, okay. I think I made the point. Companies. There's like a certain tone deafness, I think, with it sometimes. Like I'm changing upwards of 15 a day. 15 a day. I can't explain to you all the depths of that. Absolutely is not fucking happening. I feel about reusable diapers. Yeah. Melt wasn't saying anything. Melt wasn't saying something is good. I don't believe that. Just zoom out. He'll have helloed that shite at some point in his ramblings. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do believe it is time for me to show you something. Something that you might not have seen. If the statistics are to be believed, the likelihood of you having seen what I'm about to show you is very low. I'll show you now. Nee. Ah, yes, folks, I have a birthday this weekend. Start scrapbooking together your cute cat pictures and memes. I want them all. I don't know if I have any meme. I might have some memes, but I haven't been saving things. Alrighty, time for me to read you something you might have never heard. Doors left open. I'm learning how to leave places without slamming the door. Not because I always get it right, but because the world keeps showing me what happens when I don't. Some days I rush, some days I miss the cue, some days I realize later that a room was asking for more care than I knew how to give at the time. So I try again. I'm starting to notice that places respond, that how I arrive shapes how I'm remembered, that respect isn't a performance, it's a posture you practice. I don't want to move through life collecting exits. I want to leave things workable. People unbruised, spaces willing to see me again. The universe teaches this gently, then louder, then with repetition until it sticks. It teaches me to pause at the threshold, to say thank you, even silently, to leave enough warmth behind that returning doesn't feel awkward. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm trying to be welcome, trying to live in a way where if I ever come back, the door remembers me kindly. It's nice to have you friends here with me. My oldest is on the 5th. Is that another attempt by the GOP to be culturally relevant? I love that shit. I'm so lost. I all messages still lost. I do know, however, that love is true. and that we found ourselves here in love with each other again. Thank you, friend, for joining me. It is a pleasure to have taken some time to show up for calm, to remember that the fear of falling short is one that doesn't serve you. It could only be a self fulfilling prophecy, something that limits you. Don't believe everything your mind says. I'll see you, friends, real soon. Goodbye for now.